And step off the land now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Coming to you from the studio, located in the Nemesis stars, on planet Earth. The truth is the truth, is the truth. Try the best, try honest.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a lift-off.
And welcome to the Best Damn Podcast. I'm your host, John Keane. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and subscribe. And remember, check us out, www.spreaker.com/user/Best Damn Podcast. Also, check us out, youtube.com/C/The Best Damn Podcast. And if you'd like to support the channel, patreon.com/user/Best Damn Podcast. Tonight, guys, I am incredibly excited. As always, I feel like I'm always excited whenever I broadcast and, I get to, communicate with you guys, man, get to fellowship with you guys. It's something I really enjoy. It's incredibly awesome, and incredibly fulfilling. Well, tonight, this one's going to be a little extra special and a little extra fulfilling because I have my friend and brother in Christ and fellow YouTube creator, Damien Egar. Hey, Damien, you want to say hi to the nice people at home?
Hey, everyone. How are you?
Now, Damien, if you don't know, he's an incredibly intelligent, loving, caring being that I believe we actually met through the Global Witness community. Is that right, Damien?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, and your YouTube channel is Damien Kanatai Hunting Wolf. Is that correct?
Yep, Damien Kanati Hunting Wolf.
Sorry, I knew I was going to massacre that, man. Damien Kanati Hunting Wolf. But let me just say this, that if you guys haven't subscribed or checked out Damien's channel, please go do so. Damien is a super awesome guy, man. And tonight we're going to be discussing some interesting things, I believe. We talk quite often, and have some pretty good, deep conversations, really just about, the nature of reality, exactly what we're going through at what time, because both of us have, had some major ups and downs as far as the refinement process, dealt with our own forms of persecution, and you know what, have really had the Father, the Most High, be a major part of our life and change our life in a major way and be incredibly influential. So we're both very spiritual beings. Now, Damien, if we could, just to kind of, get everybody started, could you kind of just tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit why you've decided to start speaking and create a channel, and what has kind of led you to the point you have gotten to now?
Yeah, no worries. Alright, brief. So, Yeah, I grew up in a little. I'm from Australia, so I'm in Australia, and I grew up in just a small town, Musselburgh, and yeah, it's hard to explain the journey because there's so many links that are being put in to the chain right now of my past throughout all my whole past. So, a bit about myself. I was diagnosed with ADD at a very young age, and I was put on amphetamines when I was about 8.
Wow.
And that's a pretty addictive drug. And so I've gone through that process of depression, and I've had the anxiety and all those sort of things I grew up with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, the best way I could say it is I've been, I've been through a lot of my own stuff.
Yeah. Well, no. Let me ask you this though, Damien. And I'm sorry to cut you off here, but let me ask you this: how important do you feel it is, though? You said you've been through a lot of things and many challenges in your life. What has been one of the major factors that has allowed you to overcome those challenges and to change?
Well, that's the question. So these links that I'm talking about in the chain throughout my past, I'm finding new links that have opened me up to now knowing why I've been through and what I've been through and how I've been through it, and it's like they're answers.
Yeah.
In a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, this is where I'm at the moment, because it's hard to explain these things that are happening to everybody.
Yeah.
To everybody out there, and these changes and these feelings, and then I suppose a lot of people run from their past. But the big changing point for me was, I was always involved in secretive things like Anonymous and all those things, and I felt that those were the truths. Those were truths that were being, brought to the table. So I can't really define a point where everything has changed, because what I'm noticing now is that it all changes again and then again and again, and it's like a process, like a massive process.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you believe that, this is one of my beliefs, let me just state that right now, as a whole, the body of Christ, people in general are experiencing what I would like to call a spiritual awakening all over the planet. This is something that is, you live in Australia, I live in Ohio here in America, and when we speak on the phone, we are both experiencing similar things. Do you think that this spiritual awakening, what do you think exactly is causing people to wake up in such a fashion? Do you think that we are approaching the end times? Do you believe that this is got something to do with the arrival of Planet X, Nibiru? What is your theory on why people are waking up in large numbers?
Yeah, my belief or my theory of that is, it's my belief and my theory, so I don't want to offend anyone or anything when I say it, but yeah, these are all truths. Nibiru, the planetary system, the solar system, and and what's happening in it now, these are all truths.
Yeah.
And they're all happening. I feel strongly, very strongly, that it's definitely a spiritual force. It's a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And it's like it's harvesting itself.
That's a good way of putting it, man, actually.
So I feel like everything is harvesting itself at the moment, and we're all awakening at some point. So we're all on all different levels, from one end of the spectrum to the other, when we're talking about spectrums.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel strongly that the spiritual awakening that's occurring now is a very important one.
Absolutely.
A very important one. That if I don't grab hold of this now and own who I am and understand the importance of what's happening right now, and if I blind we're not getting told the truth.
Yeah.
From all levels. This is the time where I feel like we need to embrace inwards, find out who we are, our origin, where we come from, what's caused all of this. But I'm scared as well. Like, I'm vulnerable and I'm in a state as well, because I feel like this stuff's happening and there's so many people that can't see.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that can't, understand what's happening from the suppression and how everything's kind of gone. But yeah, I don't, when it comes to information, I don't knock any information. Any information that comes in, I don't knock it. It's my job to filter it through my filtration system that I set up with the Father. And that's the Spirit, that's love. So that's the filtration system that I have to go through. But many people are on different paths and seeing all these things, and a lot of people aren't going to understand or perceive what's about to happen. But truly, in my heart, it's going to happen. It's a knowing.
Yeah.
And these things are going to occur. And one thing I can say is that my learning and my growing and my understanding and how the Holy Spirit, the true Spirit of God, not the false Spirit or the plastic Jesus or whatever you want to call it, the true Spirit of God, it'll stuff up on its own. So it's like, these things are going to happen, and I do believe in Nibiru, the planet. It exists.
Yeah.
It exists.
Well, I think that there's so much out there now, especially with channels like WSO, Naughty Beaver, just to name a couple. And, we done spoke about him once already earlier, like Derek Bros, A Global Witness. I myself even speak on it, and there's a lot of other people that have recently awakened that are now creating content like yourself, and now feeling the need to address these truths and feeling the need to shed light on these truths and expose these lies. So I think that there's a lot of proof as far as physical evidence, as far as pictures, as far as videos, showing us that there is absolutely something that is not only in our solar system, but is close to our planet. We're seeing it in our skies. And, I think it's up for debate, though, Damien, on whether these planetary objects are, some people believe that they are spaceships, that they're craft. Some people believe that they are planets, but they are being used like craft under intelligent control. Yeah. Is it the Anunnaki that are flying these things around? Is it the hand of God that is guiding these? Or the hand of Satan that is guiding these? I think that's what's up for debate. I don't think it's really debatable anymore as far as if something is out there. I think it's more on what, who, and how, it's all taking place.
Yeah, so back to what you were saying before, Derek Bros, Naughty Beaver, these people, they're our brothers and sisters, and they are coming out with truths that many don't like.
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
up against so much I've been in. I was a Jehovah's Witness for about 7 years. So
wow.
I was in a religion that was pretty heavy and hectic, and it was equivalent of like the university study. But I was wondering why I would go so deep. When you talk about these planets, when I look at it or I see it or I visit it, man, I see cells, living cells, and I see that when Nordy talks about and Derek talk about the truths that are being revealed, which is prophecy. So they're all being revealed. Everything will be revealed. And when you hear them talk about these truths, it's a biological kind of, because I haven't got a PhD or anything.
Yeah.
But I love physics. I love quantum physics. I have this heart. It's like, it's got a nose. It's like, wow, that's just amazing. And when I look at the truth that they're saying in that, it's biological. It's like, I think of these planets, and you hear about the sun, and you've seen that object that moved into the sun a few years ago, and it kind of was a round object, and then it sucked. It's like it was extracting something out of the sun, right?
Yeah, I seen that. That was crazy.
These living cells all around us, and I think that they can be just like we can, we can put. I'm not sure too much about how they do embryos, and you can, stick the needle in, and you can, what do you call it? It's I feel that all of these planets and the cores of these planets, I do feel like they are ships. They are ships of some kind.
Yeah.
And what you said before about the Father, you said before about understanding whether it's the archons or the Father, it's the enemy or or love, the true spirit, the virgin spirit, the Father.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the key that I keep feeling in my heart is like when they're all under the influence of the Father, of light.
Absolutely.
Everything is under the influence of the Father and light. So no matter whether enemy or not, it's not going to win. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to control. It's not going to... We may think that and perceive that right now, but really, at the end of the day, it's already happened.
Yes.
So I think that these little bodies that are all out there now in our solar system, they can be injected. There is they are covering up at the top end in the poles. They are covering up these. Oh, sorry, Ham.
Well, now
they are covering up a lot of stuff, like which leads all of this community of truth into half truths because they're covering up stuff up in the North Pole. What do you call it? The inner Earth.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. They are covering up an inner place where people have seen it and produced it. Whether people listen or not, it doesn't matter. I do.
Yeah.
They are covering up all this stuff, and at the end of the day, if the Father is in control of all things, the Spirit is in control of all things, it's like I have to go back to that place in order to keep my strength. Because we are seeing this occur in front of our face. Yeah. And we know that all of these truths and the flat Earth and the inner Earth and every bit of information that's ever come out of this planet is starting to come up to the surface, and we're starting to see the truth.
Absolutely. All things are being revealed. This is that one thing that was promised about the last days, about the end of the age, is that all secrets would be revealed to us. And you bring up a very good point that I think a lot of people, because not only is this the age of all things being revealed, it is also the age of deception, the age of confusion, and we are seeing people be completely led astray. And one of the core truths I think that we need to hold on to, and that we need to really, keep our faith in, is the fact that God the Most High, the Father, is in control of all things. And how many people, in this day and age have lost sight of that fact, that God is in control. They want to make Lucifer the great architect, and to give him the credit of creation, to give him the credit of control. And whether, Jesus Christ said that, the God of this world is, Satan. He came out and said that, that's his words, he called him the prince of this world. But the thing is, even the evil, even the dark is being allowed to do what it does, because they are also sons and daughters of God. And God is a God that allows free will. And darkness and evil will be turned for his purpose. Kind of to switch tracks for a second, think about, people being targeted and being persecuted, and this is turned into refinement, any struggles, that we have in our lives. Sometimes evil and malevolent things are attacking us, right? And kind of ripping us to shreds. Well, God will use this to tear down the negative aspects of ourselves, to destroy our egos and humble us. That way it can work for our own good, So I think that you bring up an incredible point.
He does. He absolutely does. When the Spirit comes over me personally, I'm on my knees, and I'm like, this is scary stuff, man. This is scary stuff. This is big stuff.
It's
incredibly
incredibly
and a lot of people, and this is the other thing you were saying before, is like, a lot of people that are blind to it, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing you can do. The Spirit does it. The Father does it.
It's very
Everything
spiritual.
happens in its way. It humbles you back. It pulls you back. It's like it automatically sucks you out of the pendulum of right and wrong, up and down, in and out. It sucks you out into the neutrality that Derek talks about.
You're removed from this paradox.
Yeah. And when you look back into the pendulum, that's when you can kind of see how it works and see what's happening. And I don't claim to be perfect, or I don't claim anything. I'm so happy because I'll listen to your podcast. Mm-hmm. It'll have me convicted, and then all of a sudden someone will say some stuff to me, and I realise, and I grow confident back into the Father, because this world is trying to consume and suck anybody with this truth out.
Yeah,
it's really trying to destroy us all, man. And I love listening to your podcast, Jeff. I'll listen to as much truth as I possibly can listen to.
I'm the same way.
And then, and then try and filter that truth through the Holy Spirit, through the Spirit, the true Spirit.
Well, I think
that's the hard thing.
We gotta arrive at our own truth ourselves, and that's where the world is so messed up. They've been manipulated, they've been controlled, and they've been deceived to the point that they have no more critical thinking. Don't you agree, though?
Yeah, they've been dumbed down well. It's like right to the end of the spectrum. This is the problem, but everybody is on so many. There is an infinite amount of levels of everybody's consciousness right now that is on that level that they're on.
Yeah.
And that I think where I get, because my journeys, I burnt everything. I burnt everything. I burnt my birth certificate. I burnt everything, and I don't want to live on the radar.
Yeah.
On anybody's radar. I don't want to live on anybody's radar.
Absolutely.
But people can look at that. They can judge you.
Mm-hmm.
And they can point at you as making a statement with what you're doing, when all you're doing is inner searching and loving yourself enough to know the truth. And the truth is, this stuff's happening, and it's not far off.
That's right. That's right. It's right around the corner. And any prophecy, and it doesn't matter where you look. I've done shows on 1,000 different prophecies, and we've mentioned some other people as well that speak about prophecy, like Naughty Beaver and things like that. But think of Mother Shipton, the Hopi prophecy, the Book of Revelations from the Bible, Edgar Casey, you can just keep on going and going and going. Nostradamus, and all of these different prophets, okay? All of them over this wide range and periods of time, some are thousands of years apart, are all speaking and referencing the same time period, the same events, the same signs before these events, and then following it up by the same type of cataclysms like pole shift, like comets, like rising sea levels, great earthquakes, fires, floods, weather unlike anything we've ever seen, changes in our sky unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, this is more than a coincidence, wouldn't you say, Damien?
That's the thing, this is truth.
Absolutely.
And this is what I try and get my head around this stuff too, man, because this is, when you're going through it, it's crazy. This
Absolutely.
is true.
Yeah.
You're living in a Hollywood movie that is way better than any Hollywood production.
Yeah.
So, it is, and you're vulnerable and at one end and very cautious, but you're excited because you know this stuff is real. This stuff's happening. I suppose, like I was talking about before, written on my heart, I'm only just starting to see the things that are written. Every peel that comes off my heart, I'm starting to see the new things that are being revealed. Whether it's spiritual, physical, or whatever, I'm starting to see all the new things. It's confusing, but that's truth.
Yeah.
It's truth. It's truth being revealed, and more is going to be revealed. This is the scary thing for people.
Yeah. Well, look, this is what kills me about. Well, what kills me about church, like organized Christianity. Okay, I'm not attacking Christianity in any way, shape, or form. Okay, I believe in the teaching of Jesus Christ. I proclaim myself to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I love Jesus, okay? But I believe that the organized religion, organized Christianity, they are misleading people in a way, man, that is unfathomable. It says, even Paul, the Apostle Paul, said that the apostasy must come first, before the end.
Yeah.
So, what drives me crazy is the way that they are teaching people, just kind of that there's no such thing as modern day prophets, that God stopped speaking to people 2,000 years ago. Like, he can't speak to Damien, or he can't speak to John. You know what I mean? He stopped back with Peter, and he stopped back with Paul. Isn't that limiting the power of God? And isn't that and when you're saying that these signs and, the signs of the end and all that, you're basically denying the very book that you're reading by saying these things aren't possible.
Yes, that's the thing. That was the thing that grew me through, because throughout my whole life, I didn't realize what I was going through my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't realize what we're going through until these kind of links in the chain, occur. But man, it's it's on an unbelievable level that when you do find out these things, it's written in your heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God says the truth is written on your hearts. And one thing that, really drives me crazy, is how the teachings of Christ in modern day Christianity, not only do they not believe any of the prophecies, and they won't teach these prophecies in church either. They're very taboo and unspoken of, I never hear a Sunday sermon on the book of Revelations, and if you do, it's once a year, and they make no connection as well as to the history of the other prophets like Isaiah or Jeremiah, and how they're not only speaking of 2,000 years ago, yes, but they're also speaking of the end times as well. And there's no connection to the history. There's no connection to the prophecy. Everything is made to be external. They say, well, you invite Jesus into your heart. And they don't do that. They don't make the heart connection.
Yeah, and that there's a danger right there where we allow something into our sovereign vessel. And I'm getting my head around this stuff now as we speak.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's hard to get your head around, but we are sovereign, and we don't ask or allow anything in our vessel except the Father, Spirit, love. That's already us. That's who we are. Mm-hmm. This physical is not real, so when all these churches are allowing spirits into their vessel, and I did too, I allowed it in. I think that's probably why when I broke free, it was such an experience. It was weird. When I broke free from the church, and by the way, I would like to send Derek big time, because he doesn't know this, and we don't speak much. I've thrown a few texts here and there to him and emails, but it was the ministering through people like Derek that you can see the Father's love. You can see the end result. You can see the end result. The end result's not good for truth seekers or for conspiracists or all of the, whatever you want to call us or whoever. It's not good, but it was through, it's a knowing. You just know when you hear that, you do decipher it, you don't trust it, you don't bow down to any person. Like, I'm not bound down to Derek, but he broke me free. He broke me free along with you and many others, and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You don't even know it. And you kind of sit back and think, wow, because the ministry, it's certain things. Once again, but the power of the enemy is powerful, because I was seeing AI through lots of stuff, but it was the Father's Spirit and the words that were spoken, the truths, that pulled me back into a knowing of where the enemy was in that situation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely understand. Yeah.
So,
but I
broke free with all of the truth of community broke me free, and they didn't even know it. Yeah. And they're breaking people free right now, and they don't even know it, because they're opening up their minds above the carnal mind and into the spiritual realms where things exist on a completely different level. We think quantum physics. Quantum physics is weird because you can't understand it and grasp it, because it's so. Well, that's where you're at. You're in that. You'll never understand the power of the Father. You never understand the love. Every time you get to a certain point and you feel love for people, and you start thinking about the world and everything that's going on, and all your friends and your family, and then you think about that. You get to this point. Then the Father you say to him, personally me, I ask him, give me the same love Yeshua had.
Yeah.
Give me the same love Jesus had.
Yeah.
Give me that same love. So I know that the motivation behind it is not impure or anything like that, and just give it to me, because if you can't do it, I ask him to give it to me if I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, why didn't he give it to you? And then you think, oh, wow, that's magnificent. And all these different things occur, miracles, I call them. Then all of a sudden you realise that's only a minute, a spectrum, a tiny part of the love. And it's like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is
absolutely.
Magnificent power.
Well, I think
Beautiful
that
power.
the reason that people have such a hard time understanding, because the nature of our reality in this three-dimensional plane that we live on, people think in such a linear way, right? They think in this linear manner, because they're restricted by this three-dimensional reality. But, if you truly think of it, and let's just take the Anunnaki or these archons or these, call them demons, angels, these other beings. These are intradimensional beings, which is showing us that there are other planes of reality, other pieces of space that are coexisting within our own space, right? Think about what we can see just as far as light spectrums, we can't see infrared, we can't see ultraviolet, right? We have blinders on. When you start to look at things, and you start to step outside of yourself, step outside of this reality, step outside of this three-dimensional plane and look at things more than in a linear sense. You're talking about, the physics and stuff of just everything. When we start to look at things in another way and understand that every word, not just in scripture, but this still applies to everything, I believe. There's nothing new under the sun. We are watching the same storyline repeat over and over and over. And this is because creation is what appears to be a cycle, right? It appears to be, this creation. We're allowed to flourish for so long. We awaken, ascend, and are destroyed and harvested, and it starts all over again, right? And this being the last cycle of this creation. So we have to look at things as more than just linear. We have to look at things as allegory. We have to look at things in metaphorically. We have to look at things symbolically. There's so many different ways to look at one thing, to look at something from so many different angles. And if you don't look at everything, especially when it comes to Scripture, especially when it comes to the words of Christ, I don't think you're ever going to even start to catch the gravity of what you're being told in the Bible. I even have recently learned to look at things in a mystical sense as well. These things are so taboo as far as mainstream Christianity. They tell you that you can't look at these things in this way because it's satanic or it's evil. It comes from the devil. I think that this is, a lot of what you would call the boogeyman syndrome, right? This is what the controllers that be have used to keep you from realizing everything. Because once you realize the true gravity of your being, the true gravity of your power, the power that is in you, because creation, the source, is so powerful, right? It's so powerful and it's so dynamic that just a little piece of creation being inside of you, and you being sovereign, and when you truly embrace that sovereignty, you can't be controlled. You can't be controlled. So if we can understand that, that's why we're only given certain small pieces of the puzzle in different religions, right? Each religion has a little bit of the truth in it, doesn't it? But never the whole picture.
It does. Everything, and this is, I resort back to Derek, because one thing that opened my mind with him was the truth is in the lie, and it is. It coexists in that pendulum. stepping outside of it, that's only when we can see this, like what you're saying now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's only when you can see it.
Well, and in order to do that, and in order to step outside of these things and to step outside of ourselves, we have to deny our lower self. We have to deny our carnal self. And this is where the negative aspects of the ego lie, right? Where lust, perversion, insecurity, jealousy, envy, hatred, anger, all of these things are part of the lower self. These are all your carnal desires, your weaknesses, so to speak, that they keep you pinned down, right? They weigh you down, literally.
Yeah.
And they make you food for these archons. These are the energies that these negative entities feed off of.
Yeah, and this is what I'm in the middle of right now. So my journey from start to beginning, where I feel my awakening began, was in the church. I've linked it back even further, but these things that come through, like everything that's happening, and like especially being in the Jehovah's Witness group, I don't like, because I'm still in that spot where I'm unsure of where if I'm being judgmental or loving.
Yeah.
And so I can only say my experience in that group, and my experience in that group, it led me to where I am as well. Like everything is leading me to where I am, and I think that everybody that's awakening now, are they the links that we put? Like, are they the links that I think I'm talking about? Because I'm unsure about a lot of things, John. I'm unsure about a lot of things because what the Spirit under me has said, be unsure and seek.
Yeah. You know, one of the greatest messages I've received, actually recently, and it was just kind of like a self-revelation that I had. And it was, you know, we say this all the time, like, you know, to realize that you know nothing. But I truly come to a place where I accepted and embraced that I know nothing, you know, that I truly, truly know nothing. And when you embrace that, when you become that, you know, where you truly feel in the inner depths of your being that you don't have the answers, all of a sudden, your cup is completely emptied, okay? Because you don't know nothing, and because you have now humbled yourself as well, you know, and realized that the powers of the universe, that the power of God, that the power of the angels, whatever, you know, these higher beings, these higher dimensions, it allows them to finally start opening up doors and opening up answers to you. You know what I mean? When you truly know nothing, then you give yourself the opportunity to learn all things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense because when I died to myself, I burned everything because I don't want to be in this system no more.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to not want to be in this system, but I fear the implications that the enemy can throw at me. I have a respect for the fear that he's going to throw at me, and it's going to happen. And I suppose what I could say, like, if I was, one thing that I am confused about right now is I've been all my life I've been a talker. I've talked. I love secrets, truths. I love all of the deep things. But I've been a talker my whole life, so you know, I'm feeling inside me is like, well, first when I'm convicted, once this is really hard to explain, man, because this is divine stuff.
Yeah.
This is stuff that doesn't happen. And it's stuff that you can't get your head around straight away. You've got to wait for the Father, or I've got to wait for the Father to tell me what it meant and how it meant what it meant and all that sort of stuff. I'm in the middle of that process right now, but when I burnt everything, I felt something lift, man. I felt something lift.
Yeah.
I burnt a cross that it was a cross, and I burnt it, but in my motivation behind burning it wasn't magic or ceremonial or anything like that. My motivation was, I burn this cross, turn it to smoke, and I wear it. I wear it now. I don't need to see it. I don't need to get up there on the cross and look down at people. You just wear it. And I'm in that middle of that process of where I'm learning and being convicted to change things. I went through another process of where I felt, because I've been in rehabs, I've been through lots of different places.
Yeah.
And, you know, the labels that they put on us, you carry them with you.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to unlabel every single thing in my mind and my heart that's ever been labelled. And maybe I feel like that's the emptying of the cup. I'm not sure, but I know when you die to yourself, that's what I did. I felt that lift, and I died. And then all of a sudden, the world, the spiritual forces behind the enemy's tactics and what he's doing and developing in this world by, you know, recycling souls and taking, it's absorbing a tiny fraction of the soul every time this happens.
Yeah, a little bit at a time.
Yeah, this is major stuff. Like, I'm thankful that my soul is intact enough to be understanding to talk about these truths with you, let alone anyone.
Yeah.
But that's a crazy thing. But I felt that lift. I felt the lift, and there's going to come a point very soon where I have to die again. In another sense, I think it's a never-ending process. It's like an eternal process. So we can never go, oh, there's the end. Oh, look over there, there's the end. But the end doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist, so there's no end. There's no start. It just is, and that's why I think it's such a hard process to go through. But when I felt it lift, and I know I can lift it again, and and I know that the call or the process that I need to go through myself. And in saying this, the number one thing on my heart, even before I come on and was talking with you, is say nothing of your own.
Yes.
Say nothing of your own, Damien. And these are the things, these are the convictions, and they just make me cry, man. They make me, I'll get on my knees when these convictions happen, because say nothing of your own. It's the will, it's done, it's dusted. If we don't turn now, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing but what we've done to ourselves. And we'll live in that pain that we've caused upon ourselves in our soul.
Yeah.
We don't, and it's hard, because I feel my heart goes out. I'm going to be attacked on all different levels, all because I want to show love in its purity, not in its false image.
Well, you know,
this is what this earth is.
Well, let me say this, Damien, that, you know, first off, one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with was what you just said there. That people would want to attack me, would want to persecute me, would want to harm me, whether it be spiritually or even physically, for wanting to speak the truth, for wanting to help others, for wanting to express love. We can't wrap our heads around that. Well, let me just add to this, though, that you speak of this process of recycling, right? These archonic beings, these Anunnaki or whatever, in this false reality matrix that gives us this illusion of time, right? You said time is not real. I agree with you. I believe time...
No, it's not.
It's a construct of this matrix, okay? That's what I believe. Now, these beings, they have this absolute control, okay? And think about all of the trauma that they have created over all these periods of being recycled. We were speaking on the phone earlier and talking about different soul contracts, right? They get you to agree to these contracts during a lifetime. They wipe your memory and then put you back into the matrix, but the contract that you signed from the last time is still there, building negative karma, right? The trauma and the fractures in your soul are still there. Well, now think of where we're at today, okay? We have all these narcissistic people, these fractured people that can't manifest their own emotion anymore. What they have to, they've essentially become human archons by feeding off the energy of people like us, empaths, right? The people who can feel for others. You know what I mean? We are living in a damaged reality. Go ahead.
So that's how tricky it is. That's how tricky it is. What you're saying is that's a disguise.
Absolutely.
That's a massive disguise.
It's a complete disguise. It is.
And how do you know? And what do you do? You have to go into, or I have to go into meditation and prayer, and sit with the Father in order to. It's like a recalibration of sovereignty, I think.
Yeah.
A recalibration of yourself, your true self, your higher self, you. And the fact what I take out of everything, it doesn't matter. Once you've seen the truth, you've heard them, if, like Derek says, if they resonate, and they do with me, and I'm sure they do with many others, if they resonate, then there's a purpose for that resonation. There's a purpose.
Yeah.
So I hone in on that purpose because there's a meaning there. And people are hearing this, and people are hearing you, and all of these truths, and if there is minute lies in it, don't disregard everything on a minute lie. I've made many mistakes in my life. Don't disregard me, because I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm going to, like, you can't stop what's happening. You can only work with it and help the Father in that way.
Yeah.
Or you can jump along the easy, jump over the fence where everything's with the enemy. That's the biggest thing.
Well, people
I kind of keep thinking about every day.
Well, but people have become so fractured, okay, so damaged, so manipulated, so controlled, that I don't even believe that they have control over their own being anymore, over their own soul, their own spirit anymore. And the way I've always heard it put is that these archons are artificial intelligence in a sense, right? Yes. They can't create. They're not creators, right? They're destroyers, right?
No.
And they can only mimic.
They will take what the Father owns.
Yes.
So they'll take the Spirit from the Father. So they're stealing from the one true God.
Yep.
And you can't steal from him. So what's really happening is he's allowing it.
Yes.
Because it's all a process. It's all over.
Well, because they're his children too, and he allows free will.
Yes.
Even the angels are the sons and daughters of God. Just some of them chose to fall. They're fallen because of them declaring themselves God and them rebelling and them altering humanity. These are all reasons that people believe that the fall occurred. But now we have people who, now these guys working in this artificial intelligence sense, are, I've always heard it put of as a hive mind, okay? So think of a person whose soul is given over to the dark side, who already has the mark of the beast, and the mark of the beast says it'll be written on your forehead and on your right hand, right? your forehead representing your mind, and your right hand, whenever you pledge to something, right? You put it over your what? Your heart. So it's representing your mind and your heart. So it's in your mind and heart. Now, if these people are given over to this system, then now they have become part of this hive mind. So they are being controlled by under archonic influence without their even knowing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're part of the hive mind. They're part of the system. They're part of the problem. And I hate to say it, but I don't know if you can fix that. I don't know if there's. That's why
You can't. I don't think you can, man. I really don't think you can. I think that because the Father's in control of all things, because the Spirit is through all things, we have no control over that. And and this is another mentioned there again.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions this. He mentions there's a line drawn.
Yeah.
There's a line drawn. But it's not drawn. We think it's drawn, my personal experience to your personal experience, my mistakes to your mistakes. We think humanly it's drawn to that. No, it's drawn because there's the enemy and they will show themselves, and there's the Father and his body and Christ, which is the body that is rising. It is rising fast, really fast.
Absolutely.
Right now. And I don't have a church. I don't have a religion. I don't have any of that. I just have me. And I know that that's my temple and my kingdom and my body. And I need to work on that. I need to rise that with what's happening, because if I don't, I'm going to be left in that same position that everybody else is. Ignorance, head in the sand, not listening, not thinking, not using their own sovereignty, their own will to understand that the seeking of truth is where you gather all the Father's Spirit, because you will know who you are, and you are the Father inside.
You are. We are the church too, as well. We are the church.
The body. Yeah.
Yes. It's we. That's our temple. And when it says, and this is one of the things Jesus says, when you see the man carrying the pail of water, you follow him into the house that he goes in. Right. He's speaking of the age of Aquarius, and he's telling you to go in your temple, right? He's telling you what to do when the second coming comes. You know, this is how the ascension process will happen in the age of Aquarius, to go within and seek within, and there is where you will find Christ. And I just don't know if we all have been. The quickening is already taking place, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. The quickening is already taking place. The lines have been drawn. I'm not saying that some souls can't be saved still, and that some can't be deceived.
All souls that are going to be saved are going to be saved.
Yes.
That's as simple as that. All souls that are going to be saved are going to be saved, whether now, whether yesterday, or whether tomorrow, in a non-existent time, they are going to be saved. We can't say or do anything about that. They're going to be saved. If they're not, they're not. That's that line, and that scares me, man.
No, you're right. Well, it says if it were possible.
I'm like, it's like maybe I judge hearts wrong, and I look at a heart, and I do feel that the Father's given me discernment into looking into people's hearts, because I see into hearts, and I see, but at the moment I back off with my will, with what I think, my carnal thoughts, it's the moment I see the Spirit work in that person. And it's nearly like it's saying to me, back right off with everything, move up here and just, like an eagle, just circulate and look at everything, because while you're looking at it, we're manifesting the thoughts and the love of the Father. If we've got it in our heart, we're either manifesting love or hate.
Yeah.
We're either motives because we want to do it for ourselves, or we're doing it because we have that desire to do what the Father will, to work with the Spirit, to go along with things, and see the curve. But the ego, it circulates around, and it just sees all the things it needs to do, but that's all the information that we're gathering. And that's what's happening. And people that are on the moon that can't fly and see that, they are starting to grow wings right now. And they're starting to go up and see.
Well, I believe that there is a transformation taking place, that people are becoming what they have chosen, that people are becoming either literal demons or they're becoming literal angels, by what they've chosen.
Yes.
Yeah, and
we're seeing it.
Absolutely, we're seeing it.
We're seeing a total division. There is no warm, lukewarm. There's no, like when you look at a spectrum, you look at the pendulum, you go from one end, and then at one point it hits the center of the bottom, and then it goes up to the next point at one point. And like Jeff says, in which point of that pendulum does it change? It doesn't, because it moves through everything. This is what time does it. It messes us up. It's already changed. A change is so... I don't know if you're picking up what I'm saying, but
yeah,
if you're watching a pendulum from one end to the other, you're seeing it go through the change.
Yeah.
There's no point of end or start or turn back or repentance or all that. There's no point in that pendulum. When you step out, that's when you see... Well, it's not even when you see it, it's like it's forced.
Well, that goes...
It forces you into that. The humility, the love. It's like you stepped into the Father's love on such a scale. It's still confusing to me.
Well, that goes with this paradox, though. The paradox, though, Damien. It says, people ask the question, where does good end and evil begin, right? It's the polarity. That's the illusion, I believe. The polarity of this universe, this duality, right? As above, so below. As below, so above, okay? I think the middle way, the narrow path is to separate yourself from the duality, is to not, be divided by this reality and allowing yourself to become one part of the spectrum, to be separated or divided and become one end or the other.
Right, and you hear a lot of the biblical, anything ancient and biblical will mention that there's even a part in, I don't know if it's Thomas or John, I know it's in the other parties. I don't focus on who, I just listen and kind of just take in and absorb the information, but there is a part in one of them where it says the middle road, it doesn't say the middle road, it says the middle, there's a dark place in the middle. That confused me for a while.
Yeah.
You don't want to be left in the middle. But I understand what that means now.
Yeah.
It's not talking about the path or the narrow road. It's saying, don't be left on the fence.
Yes.
Choose your destiny, choose your sovereignty, or choose the enemy. One or the other. It's simple.
Absolutely.
Our sovereignty is the Father. So if we are of the Father, then our sovereignty is the Father. So there's one choice. And then the enemy is the next choice. And that's sitting on the fence.
Yes.
With lukewarm for sure. It's like, well, you can't be sure, but I know that the middle path that we're talking about is so narrow. I feel like, how they say that everything's good. The enemy, what is it? Bringing it down now. Anything that's good is not good. Anything that is bad is not bad.
Well, they in the end they will call good evil and evil good. And here's one of the things I think why deception and confusion are so important in the end, to do what you just said, to make people lukewarm. And when it speaks in the book of Revelations, it talks about the 7 ages of the churches, which has a lot of meanings. But remember, the final age is the church of Laodicea. And it says, you are neither hot nor cold. You are lukewarm, so I will spew you out of my mouth, right? And that's what's happened to organized religion, right? They have one foot in this world and one foot out.
They want to stand on the fence and wait, but they don't even know they're waiting, man.
No.
They don't know they're waiting. They should have true truth and true, absolute truth where it's incorruptible, and then you can see there where the Father's immeasurable name is, because it can't be altered, it can't be corrupted in that. They would have that if they look towards that over the thoughts of what we're talking about.
Well, that's what happens to a person, okay? I'm just going to tell you. That's what happens to a person when they accept another person's version of reality, okay? When you stop thinking for yourself, okay? And when you're truly seeking, when you say, okay, you know what, God? Show me. I know nothing. I'm seeking you. Please show me. You know, you will be taken on a journey where you have to use your own heart, where you have to use your own discernment, and where you have to seek. You have to go within yourself and find those answers. And when you allow another person to create your reality for you, you're going to get whatever version they want to give you.
Well, that's your ability, then. This is what mind you, the information and the stuff we speak right now, I'm in the middle of understanding this and being convicted, just like many would be hearing these, truths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of this conviction too.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the truth, man. That is the truth.
Well, perception is reality, right? So if everybody believes...
our sovereignty can be taken just because we're being manipulated. Love. Like, I think of Enlil and Inky, and I think, I don't matter what name you want to put behind any of the enemy's forces, they're all... Well, the truth is, they're not native to this earth. They're not native to... I don't even think they're native to this system. But they control it?
Absolutely, and...
So they are... And I get confused because I've got so much data coming in, and I'm like, what do I say about that? How do I say that? But I think this is the beautiful thing of discussing these things and talking about these things. It's like being real, being open, and allowing that spirit to come in and learn us as we go. You know what people aren't doing? When they're convicted, at the moment, when people are convicted, I know this because I'm not doing it in certain parts of my convictions when the Spirit convicts me. And it's listening. When it convicts you, it might even be a small conviction. You know, at the moment, a fly lands on my shoulder and it convicts me. That's how vulnerable and confused in the sense of, I don't know, like I was saying before, I don't know if it's a confusion. It's more of a caution.
Yeah.
But everything's convicting, and I need to know what it is that I need to do at that time that's not mine, that's of the Father. This is the big thing. People don't know this. They're being convicted right now. As we speak, people are being convicted with these truths, and they will deny, or they'll go back into an old way, and I fall in that category if I don't maintain a sovereignty about who the Father is in me and who I am in the Father.
Absolutely.
You know what yeah. And I think people all around the world right now are being convicted audibly, whether they're just sitting there with a little coke and doing this. They're being convicted, but they're not listening to it. They're not listening to it. And are they ignorant? Are they ignorant for that? No. The blind, the fade, the shade, the shadows, the enemy, what it's done to suppress us? Absolutely not. It's not their fault. They just need to rise above that and keep seeking, like the Father wants us to, keep seeking these truths. But they're being convicted right now and they don't know it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, Damien, we're kind of running over a little time. I got my little one waking up here on me, so I hate to cut this one short, man. But I really do appreciate you coming on tonight. I think we've had an amazing conversation, and we're gonna have to do this again. So I posted the link.
I love it. I love talking about spiritual depths, man. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I posted a link to your YouTube channel in the description. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Ask that you please, add, follow, and subscribe, and thank you guys. I want to thank you, Damien, man.
Oh, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I love you, John. Mate, you are, you and Derek and many others. Don't just say the names. No, if I could go through all of them, I would, but I can't. The Naughty Beaver and his property. Man, just listen and open, our eyes, because these things, whether we know they're happening or not, these things are appearing and they're gonna, So I just want to say I love you, brother, and anyone and everyone that's listening loves the Keys frequency, and I'm going into a mad week or even couple of weeks of where I'm going to do a full reset, and I'm going to die to myself again. You can't. I feel like some people say you can't die again. You can keep eternally dying every single day. And I'm going to go through that process again, and I'm just thankful, very thankful and grateful that the truths and the courageous attitudes between all the people in the truthers community, whether lies or truth, man, that's where my heart is. And I'm with you all, man, and thank you for doing what you do, brother, because you give me confidence in myself.
Man, that really means a lot, bro.
So I just want to say that.
I just want to thank you, Damien Egar, for coming on the show. I put his YouTube link in the description, guys, and not only will this be posted on my podcast channel, www.spreaker.com/user/Best Damn Podcast, it will also be on my YouTube channel, so please go check him out, man. He's really good. He's got a lot of knowledge. You guys heard him on here tonight. He's a freaking rock star, and he's an awesome guy, man. Hey, and he's from Australia, dude. You gotta love the accent. So I love you guys. I love you, Damien, man. Thank you guys. God bless you, and I will see you next time.